Today, we're going to be going over media and marketing in the wildlife industry. So there's going to be a couple of our team members walking around. They're going to be handing you out some booklets. Again, this is going to be pretty in-depth, but part of this is going to be the way that I like to view things as if I was telling a 5-year-old, right? So like we want to make it simple. None of this should be confusing. None of this should do that. But again, if you go through, I have kind of an agenda. This is not only to keep myself accountable of what we're going to do today, but just so you know what to expect. But also at the same time, if you don't know me, I am so ADD that if you ask questions right now, I might go off a tangent and talk for 2 hours. So I am going to ask that you save your questions until the end. But again, that is not only for me, but it's also lunch afterwards, right? And that's one of the main reasons we're all here, right? To go get food. So if we can do this, I should be through pretty quickly. But we're going to go through this presentation. The most important question, in my opinion, because some of you may know me, some of you may not, is who am I and why would you listen to me, right? So my name is Austin Pradon. I am the owner and CEO of Droptine Studios. Now, the people on this screen, this is like my second family. The girl on the far left is Rachel. She handles all of our social media. She goes through and does all the stuff. She's like our project coordinator in the office, and she handles all of our printing. She deals with our printers to make sure that if you need anything like booklets or catalogs or anything for trade shows, that's what Rachel does. Daniel, he's in the back running cameras, but he is one of our media guys. So anytime that you see our company out taking pictures and videos, that is Daniel and I. Dina in the middle, she's also up here running the live stream for EWA. She is the mom of the group. She helps keep our lives together. If you get a proposal, paperwork, invoice, whatever, that is her. So she keeps us going. Chance is our graphic designer. He's our lead graphic designer. And so if you need anything made to represent your business or your brand, that is the guy who's going to be doing it. And then Sophie, she does all of our copywriting. And when I say copywriting, it is more so like the literature that you're getting in the booklet or the literature on your website. There is, AI tools out there that are like ChatGPT, right? But at the end of the day, ChatGPT doesn't have a heart and doesn't have a soul and doesn't want to treat you and your business separate. It's just everyone is a number to them, right? So the lovely three ladies, since today is Valentine's Day, sitting with me on that couch, get their own slide. This is my family. The top new addition, she is about 8 weeks old. Her name is Hallie Reese, and that is my new beautiful daughter. And the little 2-year-old terrorist next to her is my daughter, Whitley Jo. And it is such a joy to be her father and to raise her. And then that beautiful redhead is my wife. That is a person who helps me support all of you. She manages and does everything for us. And another part of that is, since it's Valentine's Day, Kylie, I love you. Thank you for everything you do. Thank you for being at home with the kids right now so we could be here. Happy Valentine's Day. Now, I know what you're thinking. A lot of you are married. You have your own family and all this stuff. The main thing that separates this is my wife let me marry her on a glacier in Alaska. So she's a badass. So this is super cool. Again, trying to just give you a background. This is before Photoshop, before AI. This is real. We took a helicopter up there instead of paying a venue to get married. But all that to say is to say why I'm qualified. That gives you the personal backside. But now to give you the actual reasons why you should listen to me and why this presentation is here, why we have a booth, and why we think it's so important. I personally have traveled to 12 different states photographing wildlife. I've been probably to more, but didn't have time to actually count. 5 different countries, more than 60 different species of exotics, and I'm 3rd generation in the exotic industry. Over the conception of Droptine Studios, we have had over 200 clients, 150 of which have been hunting ranches or breeders. And then whether they're full-time or part-time, we have 10 employees and we have countless strategic partnerships. So that would be something like the book that you are getting printed or whatever else it would be. Over the past 10 years, we have vetted people that we work with for things that we don't do in-house. We know things come up and life happens. So that is just another benefit of our company is we've already vetted them. But now, just the last thing I'll touch, and we'll get into the media marketing side of it. When I say 3rd generation, my grandparents bred and sold exotics together and separately for 30 years. So I thought it was normal to go outside and have baboons or have monkeys running around in the house. Or I have pictures of me and my aunt. We were bottle feeding Bengal tigers. And so I thought that was normal childhood behavior, right? But that's just as far as I say all this because I feel your pain. I've been on the hunting side of it. My dad and I had a hunting ranch that we sold in like 2017 or 18 timeframe. But I've been on the breeding side. I sit on committees with the organizations, and you'll see why I say those things in a minute. But I feel your pain. I've been in the position where you're trying to go to someone to deal with your website. You go to someone else who gets your trade show materials. I've been there, and I've been trying to deal with someone else to get graphic design done. But in media and marketing and everything we're doing, this is what our company's heart and soul is. And that's why we are here to give this presentation today, to hopefully get our industry all on the same page and have the same understanding of what media and marketing is for the wildlife. So to truly understand this, I think this entire speech and presentation would be a waste of your time and all in vain if we are not on the same page and understanding of definitions, right? Because I could ask Colby what media is, and it might be different than what Capital Farm Credit says or whatever else it might be, right? And so like people, we need to be on the same understanding, and I'm going to walk you through that. And then two other definitions we'll go over is branding and advertising. So all of you have phones in your pockets. I hate presentations where you just put the words up here and I read it. But if you want to Google the actual definition of the Webster's definition, you can go through and do that. But I'm going to give you the Austin Pradon, like I said, a 5-year-old definition of them, right? So media is your content. Marketing is your strategy. Advertising is your promotion. And branding is your identity. Now, to go a little further in depth, media is the stuff that people are going to see, hear, and consume. Marketing is the plan to get people interested in whatever service or whatever industry you're in. Advertising is paying to be in front of them. And branding is what people remember you by, right? So just for the sake of this speech, we're going to break down our industry into 3 separate categories. There's going to be hunting ranches, breeders, as well as organizations. And organizations could be someone like EWA, that's a nonprofit, or it could be if you're a veterinary clinic or whatever. But just for the sake of the speech, we're going to just be referring to hunting ranches, breeders, and organizations. The main question, no matter what category you fall under in this, I believe these are the 4 questions before you're investing any time, money, or efforts into media and marketing, what you have to go over. You need to ask yourself, how do you want people to remember you? It sounds familiar from what we talked about earlier. It's branding, right? So like Droptine Studios, we typically go with the orange. We call it Droptine Orange. It's not the legal name for it, but that's what we use it for because we use it in everything. We try to use the same fonts. We try to have the same people. We try to have the same things over and over and over to make it our identity. So anytime someone sees Droptine, they think of us with subliminally, not us saying it's us, right? Now, what audience or what is your audience going to see? What are they going to consume? That would be your media. So whether if you're a breeder trying to promote and sell semen, if you are a hunting ranch trying to sell your services at your place, that is when you need media. And the plan for getting in front of those people is marketing. So many people, there's such a common misconception that media, like when someone hires Droptine Studios to make a video, they're like, that's our marketing for the year. Nope, that's the media for that one subset of your business. But that's why we're here today, to try to help people understand there's a difference between media and marketing. Now, your marketing can use the media that we create for you, but they are separate. And then when you pay to get in front of people, that's advertising. And my personal opinion of doing this for 10 years, this is almost the order that you have to go in. You have to know who you are, your identity. You have to know what you want to look like and how you want to be remembered. Then you have to have media for no matter if you're a sable breeder, if you're an organization trying to get new memberships, no matter what it is, you need media to be able to present yourself to your target audience. And then marketing is the plan. How are we going to sell these people and get them to buy our services, buy our genetics, buy our animals? And then advertising. That's when you pay to play. That's when you pay to get in front of people and do that. Now, I would argue that branding, media, and marketing have to happen before you do advertising. Any platform like Google or Facebook or whatever will take your money gladly, but if you don't have a plan for your branding, media, and marketing, advertising is almost irrelevant, in my opinion. Now, I want to show you a couple examples of what branding looks like. These next slides will be in your booklets. Again, I don't anticipate you to go through there. It's almost 100 pages. My team worked really hard on it. So that's for when you're sitting in the booth or having lunch or whatever, please read through it. We wrote a ton of articles. A lot of our clients gave us testimonies, and so we appreciate it, and we put a lot of hard work into this. But we'll give you some look into what this is. Keeper Ranch, a lot of you know them. They had like no branding besides their logo, right? They just would have a black and white logo. And then so we came in and we gave them this more blue textured background, and you can find that on their website, their business cards, not this trade show booth because it's different, but I'll talk to Trevor after the show about that. But their hunting booths, the stuff that they hand out, their social media, no matter where you go, you're going to see the same fonts. You're going to see this blue color for them. And that is what somewhat of branding actually looks like. And branding doesn't always just have to be colors. It doesn't have to be these things. Cypress Ranches, the president of EWA, Pete Moore, he has a beautiful ranch in the hill country, and we try to incorporate their landscape into their branding. It is all over their trade show stuff. They have beautiful animals, and Pete just likes to do things differently. So we created him custom trifolds, but even the brand of his logo is different than everyone else's. So the colors are his branding, the logo is his branding, everything is his branding. Now the EWA, our company has been doing the social media, all the print materials and everything for EWA over the past year. Now we'll go way further into this and talk about what branding guidelines are, and it'll just be quick, but no matter, even if it's an event like the 2025 AMM that we're all sitting at right now, right? That can be branding with their logo based off of that. So branding goes so much further just into what colors you use. It is the identity of your business, the identity of who you are and how your customers are going to remember you. So, and again, this could go into your trade show stuff or what you hand out. At our company, this one might be, EWAs will be a little more in depth than what a ranch might be. But this is, like, I'll pick on David because he's back there, but when we started working with Capital Farm Credit, they had a branding guidelines, and it changed the game for Chance, our lead graphic designer, because it took away all the guesswork. We knew what fonts they used. We knew what colors to use. It was so much easier rather than going through 20, 30 rounds of revisions going, we don't like that font, we don't like this. It was already made for us. And so we can go through, like EWA, they're an organization, so they could send this, if they're going to hire someone to build them a website, they will instantly, within a couple clicks, know the EWA's history. They will know their mission. We rebranded their logo. I don't know if any of you have noticed or how long y'all have been around. Beforehand, it was the logo with the words inside the circle. But the biggest thing that we talked about, like, because if I said DSC, most of you would know Dallas Safari Club. If I said SCI, most of you would know Safari Club International. I don't think EWA at the time was representing their abbreviation with the organization well at all. It's so hard to see at the very bottom of there. So like we just came in and modernized the logo to have the same black buck that everyone has known for 57 years, as well as making the EWA abbreviations prominent in there. So there's so many things that can go in there, but people will now know this, but also important, we make it to where they know what not to do. Like the EWA logo should never be purple, right? So it seems counterproductive because it seems like, oh, it's a no-brainer, but you want to just tell people what they need to do and not to do. We even break it down to what colors they can use. These are the approved colors by the organization. That way y'all don't show up and there's something that's purple or whatever else, right? So we even try to break it down to the fonts they use. Like I said, I'm just going to skip through this, but now, what the most questions that I got about this is like what media platforms to use. So I think with the exotic wildlife industry, with all the young people coming up, it is still an older generation industry. There's people who have been doing this for 30, 40, 50 years, but in general, they're probably, some of those guys might not be like on TikTok, right? So in order, what I believe in our personal opinion as a company, we believe Facebook is the number one platform the exotic wildlife industry should use. There's just a good mix of younger generations and older generations, and you're going to be able to hit those because even if there's people that don't have Facebook or Instagram or whatever, they don't have any social media platforms, if they were to download one in this industry, I'm willing to bet it would be Facebook, at least from what we've seen. Now, with Instagram, it's a good mix. The older generation has it and they look at it, but they're not posting as much or doing anything, but they're still seeing what ranches are doing. So coming into their TikTok and LinkedIn, depending on what subcategory you're on, if you're a hunting ranch, I think LinkedIn is great because you are going to be trying to get corporate hunters. Every ranch we go to says we need more corporate hunters and we need more people to come in as groups because that's where they make their most and quickest profit, right? But an organization like EWA should also be on LinkedIn because if they need someone to give donations, they need sponsors, they need other people following them. That's where more of your corporate groups are that have a budget just to spend, right? So knowing your target audience, which we'll get into more, but TikTok gets you a ton of views. No matter what the content is, if it's good, engaging and all this, TikTok is known for pushing it. So I would say Facebook and Instagram are the number one platforms to be used, but also TikTok and LinkedIn, depending on who you are and what your goals are simultaneously just as important. Another fact with this, Facebook has 3 billion monthly users that are active. They probably have 10 billion people, but they're not actively using it, right? So all of these things are so many people that it is so important to remember this platform is free. Now let's make sure like our services aren't free, but these platforms are free. If you wanted, you could post 100 times a day and you will not get a fee. There's no bill to post. So it is good to continue and post and be consistent. But that is what the algorithms love is consistency. Are you posting? Are you still doing this? Are you doing graphics? Are you doing pictures? Are you doing videos? Because the more you post, the more they like to put you out. People don't like to promote things that only happen once. Now, when we do this, we have some people who get stuck on views and engaging numbers and all these things, which getting views is always good, right? The most valuable commodity we have is attention. If no one knows who you are, no one can buy from you. But even if you had 100 people, right? I'm going to go to this next slide just to give you a visual of what 100 people look like. Like I'm going to pick on Trent in the back because I know Trent. But if these were 100 customers that were ready to buy hunts, that's a lot of people, right? I would say yes. But if it's just 100 views, why is that not as important? They might not be your exact target audience, but there's so many people that I talk to like, man, I'm stuck at 200 views. I'm only getting 500 views on this. But we forget because we're so confined to our phones and our social media platforms that we forget that's 100 people. So I'm going to go through quick just to give you, this is 500 people. This is 1,000 people. All the way to the third balcony, this is 3,000 people. So every time that you see this, there's 10,000. You're getting more views, more people. Don't just think about it because these are actual real people watching your videos. And so there's 30,000, 50,000, go Cowboys, 80,000. 100,000 and 180,000. And the reason I bring this up and show you is just we forget because we're so stuck behind our phone and our numbers that if you know your target audience, you don't have to reach millions of people, right? So going into your target audience, I'll give you a perfect example. I'll use myself. No one else I know better. If I was to come in here and say all of you people in here were to hire Droptine Studios at our highest level of everything that we offer to do this, it would cripple my business because we are a small business. Now, I set my expectations to be real, that if we got 10 people to do a one-off job, that'd be beautiful. It'd be perfect. If we got through the weekend, even through the rest of the year, if we at these EWA shows got 3 to 5 new customers that were really willing to invest that we're working with day in and day out for 365 days, that's my expectations, right? I'm not expecting to sell all of you or the 600 people who are going to run through here this weekend. But I'm setting my expectations that y'all are my target audience, but I don't expect to sell all of you, right? So just keeping that in mind, because the biggest misconceptions we have is people will say, well, everyone's my target audience. What are you talking about? If I just got in front of everybody, we'd be best, right? Well, no, that's not true because your content needs to be specific to your target audience. And I'll get into that in a second. But the other part is, you have to remember your audience doesn't quite think like you do. Because like the other day, we just ran a campaign and we were in a meeting, and as we were talking, we were trying to sell lower end whitetail hunts that were like 150 inches under. And then as we were going through, it was like the last couple weeks of season, right? Like it's right at the end, we're hitting different states, we're doing all this stuff, but like we have to keep in mind that people who are going to buy the lower end stuff, they're pretty chained to their desk. They can't just get up on a whim and go shoot something the next day, even if it's in a different state. So the benefit of what we were doing was the long-term benefit of marketing, which again, we'll get into a second, but it's setting those expectations of like, and we did. I think the goal was 10. I know we sold 5 for sure. I'll find out after this. I don't want to call anyone out and give away trade secrets that we're doing. But overall, it's knowing that these people might not be able to do this, but almost every message we got was, can I book this next year? Can we do this next year? So your branding and your marketing is consistent. It's always happening, right? Like it's not just a one and done thing, but just knowing who your audience is and being consistent with it. So when I say your content needs to be as specific as your target audience, I'll go through the 3 categories we did again. So hunting ranches, focus on what you have, right? Because there's over 5,000 hunting ranches in Texas. Why would someone come with you? Why would someone turn away 4,000 other people and come hunt with you? It's either going to be your animals or what you have to offer. So do you have a 10,000 square foot lodge or do you have really good animals? But what are you doing? You need to focus on what you have and what you are good at. Don't be trying to get everyone all at once, right? Like you need to sell what you have, and don't portray yourself in such a way that is not true. Breeders, this is where you have to think super long term. So you have to think I'll call you out. We were talking the other day, 3 days ago. We're going to be hopefully going out there to get a picture of this non-typical axis, but he's thinking towards the next EWA sale. He's saying that was the difference that could be the selling a $2,000 doe and a $5,000 doe. He's got iPhone pictures and everything else, but he's seeing long-term even to the registry. Now that we have the registry coming in and doing this, and it's been proven in the cattle industry and the whitetail industry, you can go back generations, 10, 15 years ago, and be able to see pictures of that deer and be able to trace back the traits that they are pushing down, right? And so content is so important for this breeding industry because we have to track, man, if I could see who Thunderstruck's dad looked like or whatever, like just having that content to be able to track, you have to think so much further than right now. And again, I've got a couple of slides that'll talk about that. But if you are selling semen, that's a way different marketing strategy because you're probably going to kick yourself out from selling to hunting ranches. But if you're selling stalker bucks, that's a whole different ballgame, right? And so I've had one guy tell me, he said he's been breeding whitetail for almost 30 years. And he said, Austin, I've been doing this a long time. Anytime I try to sell deer, they typically say two words. The second word is pictures and the first one is send. Send pictures. What do you got? There's unfortunately people in our industry who have made it to where it is not trustworthy to say, hey, I've got a 200-inch deer. Well, does he look like a tumbleweed or is he a perfect 10-point? So people want to know what they're buying, right? So think long-term with what you're doing. Organizations like EWA, they cannot have one video that encompasses everyone, right? Like I mentioned earlier, are they trying to get sponsors or are they trying to get donors? Those two things, like a donor just needs a tax write-off, right? And they want to help support the organization. But people who are sponsors want to be seen. They want people to know who you are, where you're at, and what you're doing. But those two are completely different that you're talking to. That just the same way is, are you talking to your current members? If you're making something to educate your current members of what's happening in the organization, that is completely different than you saying, hey, we need to do a campaign to get new members. So you have to be very specific with what you're working on and what you're talking about in your campaigns.
Would you go over the difference between sponsors and donors again?
Oh, so someone that's, this is just a personal opinion. I just want to put that out there as I do not work for EWA, but I'll give you my personal opinion. A sponsor is someone like J Ranch right here. They're a sponsor. They're one of the top end sponsors of EWA. So they want their name and their brand to be seen. And I want to speak for you guys, but that's why, and they also love and believe in EWA, but they have a booth here and they want to be seen and they want to be known. But there's other people who are like donors who just do a one-time donation. It could be a $5 donation or a $10,000 donation. And if they're a nonprofit, they could just be a write-off. They're not needing their names to be seen at the organization. Now, the two different types of media or marketing we'll go into, just because, again, I want to make sure it's clear, because even Droptine, we know like our biggest thing that we're trying to push right now is the difference between media and marketing. Hence, this is one of the reasons why we're here to educate people, right? So within marketing, you have your performance and your brand marketing. Now, performance, this is what your accountant loves. You spend $1, you made $1. You are here today, like instant sales. That is what this is. Now, the goal of that is to have measurable return on your investment, right? That's what we are here to do. But how this works is paid advertising. So if you're going to come in here, this could be any different types of campaigns or whatever it would be. But this is something like Facebook ads, like, hey, we just need to sell now, even if it's 20% off. But you can track that. Now, everything has pros and cons, right? This is super easy and what Rachel's really, really good at. She can get you the metrics down to how many people clicked on the link, how many views it did, the impressions, which may hit the person more than one time. And we can track that because if we run a 7-day campaign, we can have results in 8 or 9 days, and it's very easy to track. Now, one of the cons is once we finish that campaign, it's not running anymore, right? So everything kind of has a pro and con with it. Now, brand or awareness one, this is the type that social media people love. We just get to make you look good. That is all this is. This is just anytime someone thinks of it, you are consistently thinking of Droptine, or whatever your company is. But the bad part about it is there's no direct input that we can get to say, I'm just going to go to the next one. There's no direct way to say like, man, did that sale come from the campaign we did just by posting who we are and educating people? But there's no analytics that we can pull from it. But in theory, when you are doing that, the more people trust you, the more they will buy from you. So theoretically, the more brand marketing you're doing, your performance marketing should go down because every time that you gain someone's trust, it's an easier sell. Because if you just get an ad from XYZ Ranch to come hunt, why should we hunt with you, right? You have no trust with them. But if you have brand awareness and they know who you are, and maybe this is why so many hunting ranches and breeders have repeat customers. You now trust and have seen their work benefit your company, right? So in an ideal world, you're using both. Because if you go over here and you say like, just everything needs to do, I spend $1, I make $1. If that's the case, it's going to be a lot harder and you're going to have to spend more money because no one trusts you and they don't know who you are. But if you're only doing brand, that's when you can't track analytics and know what is and is not working. So ideally, we're running both. Now, this is what we do within our company. So I wanted to give you an actual visual if someone came to us and said, hey, we want to run a campaign, right? So we set a clear objective. When I made this, it was the same day we ran this one that I mentioned about selling the 150 and under inch whitetails. So that's what this is. But we set a clear objective. If they want to sell under 150 inch whitetail, 10 of those hunts, that's pretty trackable, right? Because if you only have 10 to sell, you can't sell 20. But notice the goal of it, the objective of it is not, I want everyone to know who I am. Those are two different campaigns, right? So then we would set, and it's not limited to this is just for an example, but we want to run that on Facebook and Instagram. These are the platforms that we're going to set on and say, here is where we're at, and here's where we want to put in front of people, paid ads. Now, what we call ad sets, not assets, they are an asset, but it is called an ad set. That is where you can have your carousels that come up as sponsored stuff, your informational graphics, a video production, or a reel. And really the difference between a video production is it's horizontal, reels are vertical. And I'm thinking about making a campaign called Make Videos Horizontal again. But so in there, one of the reasons that you need informational graphics is we ran a campaign for someone, and within like a month, less than a month and a half, we had over 900 messages that they had to respond to, or we responded to, and their employees responded to some as well. But the main questions that you're going to get when you're running this is, where are you located? What does it cost? And how do I do it? So we think through this because doing a campaign is not only just coming up with the content, it's coming up with the plan. We need to know how, once someone is engaged, how are we selling them? Because our industry is very much person to person, but if you're having to sell someone you've never met before, they don't trust you. Why would they buy from you, right? So let's come up with a plan. Is it planned to get more phone calls? Is it to get Facebook messages? Are we trying to get them to sign up for your email campaigns? What is it? You have to ask yourself these, but this is just a visual of how we sit down with someone that wants to do that.
So did you say the Facebook and Instagram campaigns are paid ads?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So I'm going to run it back one more time. If you don't know what that means, it's a very unprofessional way to say, here's the key points that you should remember. Remember, media is your content. Marketing is your strategy. Advertising is promotion or paid promotion. And branding is your identity. Keep in mind, who is your target audience? Make sure it's realistic and that it is not everyone's. Also, be consistent and hire Droptine Studios. But now this is the part where if there's any questions or anything, I would love to help if I can, or maybe answer them. And again, if we need to go to lunch soon, I don't know what time it is, but we have a booth here so we can answer any of those questions if you have more, or if you want to sit down, grab me for lunch or come by the booth and me or anyone from my team can try to answer your questions for you. But as of right now, is there anyone who has...
Can you go back to the slide that you used the branding and marketing?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Also, I plan on, this is live on Facebook, but it's just an iPhone live, but we are filming it for internal use. And then we are also talking about doing this exact same thing on a podcast. So that way we can put this out and show the graphics for that. Does anyone have any questions? Yes, sir.
I just want to say we've been using Droptine Studios for a while now, and we've been really pleased with everything you've done for us. In fact, they did such a great job on the back end of the sales campaign. We were the ones who were unprepared for all the inquiries we got. So I would just say make sure you have a plan on the back end for responding to all the solicitations you get after you work with it. That was probably our learning curve. And Austin warned me about it, but I was like, oh, we can handle it. And then my guy spent all night trying to answer all kinds of emails. So that would be my advice. They're great to work with. So.
Well, thank you, Trent. I appreciate that. So I'm going to give you a plug. Guys, that is Trent, the owner of Buckhorn Ranch in San Saba. And he is what we were referring to, some of those ones I didn't want to call out. But Trent, thank you for the kind words. For the Facebook, if you didn't hear, I don't want to sound like I'm tooting my own horn, so I'm quoting Trent. But he just said he worked with us, and it's been well. So I'll just leave it in short. But
can I give you an endorsement?
Capital Farm Credits, yeah.
So I messed up. He sent me all the proofs, and I was busy and was looking on my phone, and I just didn't catch that I didn't have a logo on one of the graphics that I was wanting. And I called Austin and said, man, that's on me, but I need to reprint them. Not only did he reprint them, he had them overnighted and delivered to my booth this morning. So his customer service is like nothing I've dealt with in the 13 years I've been in the industry. So thank you for your customer service.
I appreciate it. Thank you. So did I confuse everyone to where you don't have any questions, or did I do a good enough job explaining it to where I fully believe it can be both? Well, if no one has any questions, like I said, even if you want to talk more in depth about your specific business, industry, or whatever you may be in, we're going to be at our booth the entire time. Again, we printed way too many of these books, so take 5 of them home, let your kids tear one up, color in it, do whatever. But please do read it. We spend a lot of time writing articles. What's the difference between media and marketing? We just went over. There's information on copywriting and why that's important. There's information as far as why you would hire an agency that has 10 employees. And so there's so many different things that you might not even be thinking about, but we did spend a lot of time. And so if there's anyone else who hasn't gotten one, you can get one from one of the team members, or you can stop by our booth. But I appreciate it. I also appreciate the kind words from Trent and David. So thank you guys. And then, God bless you. And thank you for listening, guys.